guys, I'm back this week with another delicious menu for you. This week we're going vegetarian. That's right, it's a meatless menu that I promise even the most die-hard meat lovers will also love. We're gonna kick things off with my stuffed mushroom caps, an easy hors d'oeuvre that also looks very impressive. Then it's a creamy white bean soup served with a cheater's recipe for pizza bread. I'll show you how to make my delicious spinach lasagna that comes together in minutes thanks to some no-boil lasagna noodles. And for a salad, it's a vegetarian antipasto packed with delicious marinated vegetables. And for dessert, the best fake-out ever, a doctored-up store-bought ice cream you'd swear was homemade. If you're intrigued by this menu and you want more great entertaining ideas, remember you can now subscribe to my own channel, Entertaining with Beth, where next Monday I'm going to show you how to make my fabulous apple cider pancakes with apple raisin compote, a delicious fall breakfast you won't want to miss. I have to admit, I have a bit of a soft spot for vegetarians. Not only because I've come to find out that a lot of you guys are vegetarian, but also a good percentage of the talented people that work here at Kin are also vegetarian. So meatless menus are always top of mind for me. And one of my favorite vegetarian appetizers is my stuffed mushroom cats. The first step is to remove the stems from the mushrooms. You'll notice they're really easy to wiggle out if you just turn them on their backs, give them a wiggle, and they'll pop right out. Then you want to slice off the bottom of the stem. You'll see it's where it's kind of hard and looks a little bit dirty. Just slice those all off and then chop off your mushroom stems. Then you want to take the 4 smallest mushrooms from the bunch and chop those up as well. They'll just be too small to fill, so it's better off that they kind of add to the stems. Then you want to give your mushroom cats just a light cleaning. You really don't ever want to submerge mushrooms in water to wash them because they'll absorb all that water and then start to get kind of soggy. The better thing to do is just take a rag and just give them a dust. Then, in a small saucepan, you're going to melt some butter and add some minced shallot. Saute that up just until the shallots are soft. Then you're going to add your chopped mushroom stems. Continue to cook until the mushrooms begin to release their juices. Then you want to hit it with a splash of white wine and a little bit of thyme. Now, if you don't drink, that's okay. You can actually also use a splash of lemon juice. That would be just as good. Once all of the liquid is evaporated in the mushroom mixture, you want to set that aside. Add 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese and 2 tablespoons of panko breadcrumbs. Panko breadcrumbs are just Japanese-style breadcrumbs. I like them because they have a really great crunch to them, but if you can't find those, regular breadcrumbs will also do the trick. Stir that up just until combined, and then take all your mushroom caps and lay them out on their backs just on a rimmed cookie sheet. Take about half a teaspoon of the stuffing and stuff each mushroom. Pop these in the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes. You'll know when they're done when the mushrooms start to kind of turn brown and get a little wrinkly and the cheese starts to melt. When the mushrooms are done, you're going to garnish each one with a little bit of thyme, and then I like to set them on a platter with a big bunch of thyme set in the center. I love these appetizers because they have some great flavors of fall, they're elegant and delicious, and just a great way to kick off your vegetarian dinner. When I entertain in the colder months, I always love to serve a soup as a first course because they're warming and comforting, and they also just look elegant as well. One of my favorite soups this time of year is a white bean soup, and it couldn't be easier to make. So here's how you do it. In a stock pot, you're going to saute up some white onion, some celery, and some garlic. Just saute that up until all those vegetables are soft and fragrant. Then you're going to add 2 cans of white beans. Sometimes they're marked white beans and sometimes they're marked cannellini beans. It's basically the same thing. But one thing I would say if you're using canned beans as opposed to using dried beans and soaking them yourself is to rinse them well. A lot of canned beans and just canned goods in general, I think, have a lot of sodium in them. So it's better to just put them in a colander, rinse under water, and give them a good wash. Add your beans to your stock pot, and then you're going to fill it up with vegetable stock, just until all the vegetables are covered and floating. Let that simmer for at least 10 to 15 minutes, just until the beans start to kind of fall apart and are really soft. You're going to puree your soup in batches just until it's smooth and creamy. Then pour it back into your pot and season with salt and pepper. And basically that's it. That's all you need to do. And then I like to garnish this soup with a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese and some freshly cracked pepper. And what's a great soup without a great bread? And here's a little cheat for you. favorite Italian restaurants in town serves this delicious rosemary pizza bread. And I wanted to find a way to try to make it at home. But sometimes making pizza dough can be a little bit challenging and time consuming. So I figured I would just cheat a little bit and buy the store-bought pizza dough, and it totally works. So here's what you do. Buy your store-bought pizza dough, roll it out. If your pizza dough is hard to roll out, it usually means that it's too cold. So you just want to set it out to room temperature because it'll be a lot more pliable to work with. Once you get it all rolled out, you want to drizzle it with some olive oil, top it with some sea salt, a little bit of pepper, and freshly chopped rosemary. The trick with the pizza bread is really to invest in a pizza stone. They're not expensive. I got mine, even the one with the fancy handles, for like 26 bucks. And the link is in the description if you want to know where to get it. The thing that's nice about a pizza stone is it's going to give you that really great crust and that soft inside. So you just want to crank your oven up as high as it'll go. Throw your pizza dough on the stone. The look you're going for here is sort of an organic form, so don't worry if it's not all round and perfect. And then let it bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. When the pizza bread is done, cut it down the center and then cut it into squares. That way everybody can have a little bit of pizza bread with their delicious white bean soup. Now for the main course, my spinach lasagna. I love this dish for a dinner party because it can all be made before your guests arrive and then just baked off when people are enjoying your appetizers. It's also great because it's oven to table. So as soon as it's done, you don't need to serve it, you just bring it to the table and cut it into squares and people can dig in. You're going to start first by making your tomato sauce. Now if you're pressed for time, you could just use jarred marinara sauce. But why, when it's so easy to make your own tomato sauce and it tastes so much better? So I definitely encourage you to try to make your own sauce and watch how easy it is. All you're gonna do is take a can of crushed tomatoes, 2 cans of tomato sauce, 2 cloves of garlic, and salt and pepper. And that's it. So how easy is that? You're just gonna simmer that for about 20 minutes. What you're trying to do is just kind of cook the acid out of the tomatoes, and the tomato sauce will kind of sweeten up as it cooks. So you don't want to skip this step. Let it really simmer for a good 20 minutes. While your sauce is cooking, you can saute up some minced shallots just until they're soft and fragrant. Then you're going to add a whole bag of spinach. Now at first that might look like a lot of spinach, but spinach when it cooks wilts down, and you'll see you'll end up with like a little thing like this of spinach. Once your spinach is cooked, you want to just season it with a little salt and pepper and then set it aside. Then you want to mix your ricotta cheese. You take a full container, dump it into a small bowl, add about half a cup of Parmesan cheese, 2 eggs, and salt and pepper. Now you basically have all of your elements that you need to put together your lasagna. Then you're going to take a 9x13 casserole pan. I always like to use something that looks a little bit more decorative than just a plain Pyrex, knowing that I'm going to bring this to the table. In the bottom of it, you're going to ladle at least 2 to 3 good spoonfuls of tomato sauce. And what that's going to do is prevent your lasagna noodles from actually sticking to the pan. Then you're going to add a layer of no-boil lasagna noodles. And it's just what the name says. You don't even need to soak them in water or do anything to them. You're going to take them from the box and line them up all the way down your pan. Then you're going to add about half a cup of your ricotta cheese mixture, some of your wilted spinach, some more tomato sauce, and some freshly grated Parmesan. Now at first this might look like a lot of sauce going into this lasagna, but here is the tip. Lasagna noodles do not have any moisture in them, so they are going to suck up every bit of moisture in that pan as they cook. And in the past, I haven't made enough sauce and I've ended up with a dry lasagna. So that's why you've got a lot of sauce, and don't be concerned because it'll actually bake into the lasagna as it cooks. You just repeat this process, layering lasagna noodles, ricotta cheese, and spinach and sauce until you run out of lasagna noodles. At that point, you're going to top the whole lasagna with the rest of the sauce. If I have a lot left in the pan, I just dump the whole thing in there, spread it out evenly so that the sauce is kind of going into all the nooks and crannies of the lasagna, and then cover the whole thing with some mozzarella cheese. You're going to cover it and bake for at least an hour. Then the last, say, 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to remove the foil and then just let that cheese get all bubbly and crispy to finish it off. Then when the lasagna is done, I like to garnish it with a little bit of freshly chopped basil. And that's it, ready to bring to the table. To serve, I cut the lasagna horizontally right down the center. And it's really easy to cut because that's where the 2 lasagna noodles actually joined. So you'll see, that'll be really easy to do. Then I'll cut vertically 4 different cuts, and that will give you 8 equal pieces. I love this dish because the no-boil lasagna noodles makes homemade lasagna a much easier task. And people are always impressed when they sit down to a homemade lasagna. Anytime I serve lasagna, I also like to offer a salad. Just because lasagna is pretty heavy, so it's nice to provide something that acts as a nice counterbalance. One of my favorite salads is an Antipasto salad. They just remind me of sort of those old school Italian restaurants that I grew up with back east. But Antipasto salad traditionally has a lot of cured Italian meats in it. So to make it vegetarian, here's what I do. Instead of the cured meats, we're gonna add some roasted red peppers. You're gonna slice them really thin, just so you kind of mimic the style of an Antipasto salad, but without the meat. Then we're going to add artichoke hearts. Then you're gonna add some pepperoncinis, Kalamata olives, and some bite-sized mozzarella balls. Set that all aside and get on with making the vinaigrette. One of the things that I love about those old school Italian restaurants is their vinaigrette. You're gonna add about a tablespoon of red wine vinegar mixed with about 3 to 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Then you're gonna add a clove of minced garlic, some dried oregano, and some dried basil, and then salt and pepper to taste. Toss your salad with the vinaigrette just until it's all combined, and that's all you have to do. I love this salad because it's packed with marinated vegetables and you've got that crisp crunch of the iceberg lettuce. You'll see it's the perfect complement to the rich lasagna. Now, because you guys have been working hard on this menu, we've made homemade soup and homemade lasagna, I wanted to give you an easy recipe for dessert. And this is one of my favorite things to do. This summer, my ice cream machine broke and I was heartbroken because I love to make my own ice cream. And the best part about making your own ice cream is putting all of these different mix-ins into it. But I found out you can do the same thing with just store-bought ice cream. And here's what you do. Because we have an Italian theme going with this menu, I wanted to put together some traditional Italian flavors. And one of the things that I love that they do in Italy is the combination of chocolate and orange. You're gonna start by roasting some almonds. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh, do I really have to go through the trouble of roasting the almonds? I'm here to tell you that you kind of do, because the taste of a roasted almond is so much better than a raw almond, that it's definitely worth the effort, and it only takes, seriously, 5 to 7 minutes. You're just gonna take your raw almonds, line them out on a cookie sheet, and bake just until they become fragrant. Then to chop them, here's what I like to do. I like to transfer the nuts into a Ziploc bag, and then give them a couple of good whacks with a rolling pin. That is the easiest way to chop a whole nut. Then you're gonna take your store-bought ice cream, make sure it's at room temperature so it's easy to work with, put it into your standing mixer, and then just add your almonds, the zest of 1 orange, some roughly chopped bittersweet chocolate, and then for a little chewiness, I like to add some dried cherries. Once you get that all mixed and combined, you're gonna transfer it to a quart container and pop in the freezer. To serve, I like to give each guest 2 scoops of ice cream and then serve a selection of store-bought cookies on the side. You'll see, when your guests bite into this ice cream, they will definitely think you made it yourself because the flavor combination is so unique, it's something that they wouldn't have seen at their grocery store. They'll have no other option but to think you made it yourself, and you don't need to tell them otherwise. If you'd like to make this menu, here's your game plan. The day before the party, you want to make your ice cream. Transfer it into a quart container and pop in the freezer. Make your bean soup, cover, and refrigerate. The day of the party, make the lasagna and leave unbaked. Cover and place in the fridge. Make your mushroom cats, place on a sheet pan, loosely covered, and refrigerate as well. Cut all your vegetables for the salad and keep stored in an airtight container and place in the fridge. Then mix your vinaigrette and keep that at room temperature, covered. 10 minutes before guests arrive, pop the hors d'oeuvres in the oven. Then, while your guests are enjoying the hors d'oeuvres, pop the lasagna in the oven and set it to bake. 15 minutes before you eat, remove the lasagna from the oven and keep it warm on the stove top, just covered loosely with foil. Meanwhile, pop your pizza dough in the oven, set it to bake, and put your soup on simmer. Then, when your guests are finishing up their soup, you want to toss your salad and pop the lasagna in the oven just for a few minutes just to warm it up a bit. and then sit down and enjoy a delicious vegetarian dinner. Even if you're not a vegetarian, I encourage you to try this menu. I promise, this is a dinner that even the most avid meat lovers will also love. Well, I'll see you back here next week when we're going to tackle Thanksgiving for beginners.